It was 1 year ago this week that the WWE Network officially launched in the United States. Now that we've given it some time to do its thing, let's spend a little time this week talking about that first year of the network, the good and the bad, and what it can do to improve in the future. Let's talk about the good stuff first, and keep in mind this is all my opinion, but honestly I think the content they have thus far is great. You've got all the past pay-per-views from the three major feds, you've got the new ones coming in obviously every month, you've got the documentaries, you got NXT, you got Saturday Night's Main Event, classic shows, you've got the Slammies, you got the old Nitros. It's great in my opinion. Honestly, I don't mean to sound like a commercial for the product, but if you're a fan of American style wrestling over the last 30 or so years, this is your shit right here. Another good thing is how relatively inexpensive it is. A lot of people will say that on top of having Hulu and Netflix and other streaming services for a monthly subscription, that another subscription on top of that might be too much for them. But that's really more of a case-by-case basis. I mean, big picture, $120 a year for all those pay-per-views is an insane, obscene bargain. It should ideally encourage all the fans of WWE to subscribe so they can see all the pay-per-views over the course of a year for less than it would cost to buy 2 or 3 pay-per-views through conventional means like DirecTV and cable. I mean, a couple of them suck obviously every year, they usually do, but even if there are some pay-per-views that suck, hey, at least you didn't pay full price for it. The accessibility of the network is a big perk for me right now. I mean, I can watch the network on my phone, on my computer, on my 360, on my PS4. Pretty much I can watch the network when I want and where I want, and it's pretty cool. Add the fact that late last year they dropped the 6-month commitment in what I consider a pretty desperate attempt to get more subscribers, and people really don't have an excuse anymore not to get the network unless they live in some area where the internet speed is not very fast. Now let's talk about the bad stuff from the network in this first year, and admittedly there has been a lot of that. The network's launch last year was so bad it almost made Barack Obama feel good about healthcare.gov. A lot of people were flat out unable to subscribe to the network and get on the network due to the overwhelming demand early on and causing the servers to just totally crash. And even if you were able to get through the network, a lot of problems persisted with that. A lot of the content they were promising early on was just not there. Like half the pay-per-views were gone. At some points the live streaming was working, but the VOD was not. I mean, overall it was a very poor launch on the part of the network. With all those problems early on, a lot of people were wondering if WrestleMania was going to air cleanly and problem-free on the network, since that was one of the big selling points of the network. That's why they launched it when they did. Now, fortunately, at least in my experience and the experience of most people I know, the broadcast of WrestleMania 30 went off pretty much without a hitch on the network. There were some pockets of people griping about their problems, but that was more of a case-by-case basis. It wasn't evident of some systemic problem with the network. So, and ever since then, pretty much all the pay-per-views I've seen in 2014 and beyond have been pretty much broadcasting on the network issue-free. So, gold star. The subscriber numbers, as everyone knows, has been a lot lower than people expected. I mean, the company expected 1 million subscribers in their first 3 months of business, and in their first 3-month report, it was barely more than half that number. Which was a huge shock to the company and probably to a lot of fans too. But the ripple effect of that report caused the stock for the company to fall drastically, a lot of financial cutbacks. I mean, you see it in the production of the television product today, and of course a lot of people across the board of the company were laid off, and so it's pretty much bad for everyone involved financially. Another big headache for the company, and most importantly its fans, is the slow speed at which the international expansion has gone. I mean, the UK and Ireland literally just got the network not too long ago, and several other countries across the world are not going to get the network until at least this summer. Now I know there's obviously there's reasons why there is the slow speed, but for a company that's trying to get as many subscribers as they can right now, you would think they would try to find some way to expedite that. I mean, obviously, the more subscribers they get, the better, so the faster they can make it more accessible to everyone across the world, the better. One of the biggest complaints I've heard about the network isn't the network itself at all, but rather it's the company-wide shilling of the network. Every Raw, every SmackDown, even during the pay-per-views, you hear constantly about the WWE Network. Every other word that comes out of the announcer's mouth is WWE Network. And I can understand, I get that it's annoying. Okay, I've heard it myself. It's pretty annoying the first couple times you hear it. But think about the perspective of WWE for this one. I mean, it's their baby. It's their big investment. They have sunk so much time and effort and money into this thing. So, I mean, obviously they want this to succeed, so they're going to do everything they can to promote the hell out of it. I mean, you might not like all the repetition, but hey, it's marketing 101. I've heard a lot of people say the reason they haven't subscribed to the network yet is because of an overall lack of content, according to these people. These people say the cost isn't the problem, so the whole fact that the company's been pushing $9.99 so vigorously, that kind of falls on deaf ears for these people. They say that it's an overall lack of content. Now granted, WWE has this vast video library, and from what I've read, only a very small percentage of that library, a very small fraction, is actually on the network right now. So to these people, putting much more, if not all of the library on at once, would make everything better. Well, okay, let's think about that. Suppose the company unkinked that hose and made all their content available on the network at once. Okay, then what? Look, I've got a full-time job, a family, this show to work on, and a life outside of wrestling. I don't have the time or the ability to watch what the network has right now in all what they have. So even if I did, though, I don't think I'd be able to because it'd be so overwhelming. I call it the GTA fallacy. Given the option to do almost anything, I'm so intimidated by my vast array of options, I wind up doing nothing, or at the very least, the bare minimum. Now personally, I think the content they already have is amazing. It's far more than any DVD or tape collection I would ever hope to own. Like I said earlier, the $10 a month pay-per-views, it's a huge incentive for me to have it. And everything pretty much they have on top of that is gravy. I mean, it might not apply to everyone, but for a guy like me who has limited time, I mean, it's great. Just knowing that it's there, even if I don't have the time to watch it all, knowing that I can, it's pretty amazing. So beyond adding content and expanding globally, what can the network do to evolve and thrive in the coming years, in year 2 of this grand experiment? Well, first of all, and most importantly, since they are pushing the network as a means to see all the pay-per-views, what they need to do, since the pay-per-views are their main thing they're pushing, they need to make the pay-per-views worth viewing. In 2014, they threw a few bones our way with shows like WrestleMania, Extreme Rules, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series, but by and large, every other pay-per-view that year was really subpar, like pretty much a glorified version of Raw. I mean, they need to make these pay-per-views must-see events like they're supposed to be, which means new, fresh, exciting matches, less repeats, clean finishes, and more memorable moments like what we saw in those first 4 shows I mentioned. The pay-per-views, since they're the biggest hook ideally for the network, the WWE needs to give them the creative attention they deserve in order to justify that position and bring people into the fold. Also, as I've said before in this show, TV as we know it is changing, and creating a streaming service is a step in the right direction. It's a step toward the future. It's great that WWE has already taken that step. I mean, quite honestly, not too many other media entities are doing what WWE is doing right now with the network. I believe there will come a time when high-speed internet will be available to everyone, of course at the expense of TV airwaves, because that's how the FCC operates, meaning that Raw and SmackDown might eventually move to be network exclusive like NXT and Main Event right now. Advertisers would therefore move to the network. It'd be more of a domino effect. I think other cable companies, other networks would adopt this kind of streaming-only service since there'd be fewer TV airwaves. But advertisers would come to the network, giving it some much-needed revenue on top of the subscribers. I'm not saying this is going to happen really soon, but I mean it's going to happen in the next decade or two. And WWE seems to be on the cusp of being in the right direction of where television is going. After its first year of existence, I give the WWE Network a solid B grade. Their launch, as we all know, was very rough, and not all of their pay-per-views, which should be the network's bread and butter, they weren't all that great. But other than that, there is a very good quality collection of content they have right now, with room to grow, and overall, I've been very satisfied with my subscription. So what do you think of the network after 1 year? What do you like or dislike about it? If you live in a country where it's available and you haven't subscribed to it, why not? I look forward to hearing your responses below. Be sure to like this page, share it, and subscribe to Wrestling with Regret, because I guarantee you it's a hell of a lot cheaper than $9.99. I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.